I'm going to take my mask off to speak. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you once again for providing this opportunity to speak to the residents of East Baton Rouge Parish. I was speaking to you all recently about almost a week ago, and my intention today is to speak once again, providing you with an update, aligning our community in this moment of crisis, and outlining the steps we need to take to protect our community, to protect our neighbors, our friends, and our family. COVID-19 presents a clear and present threat to our parish. Our health, safety, economic prosperity, and quality of life are all in danger. This is not going away. Over the last 11 days, we have seen almost 1,000 new cases of COVID-19, representing 17% of total COVID-19 cases in East Baton Rouge Parish since mid-March. Today, we reported the largest single day of increase of new cases in the last month and a half. The third largest increase since this pandemic came to our community in mid-March. In these last 11 days, we have seen a 33% increase in COVID-19 hospitalizations. Since March, we have drastically increased the availability of coronavirus testing in East Baton Rouge Parish. And while we have seen an increase in cases from this, the surge of cases is not from testing alone. At the beginning of June, only 6% of residents tested had positive results. In the last 11 days, this percentage has nearly doubled, with 11% of residents having positive results. Our community must recognize the severity of this situation. Baton Rouge is experiencing a resurgence of the coronavirus pandemic. And so along those lines, I would like to appeal to you as we continue to move forward towards our new normal. It is critical for each and every one of us to continue intensively adhering to mitigation guidelines. At the same time, I want to recognize the progress that we've made as a community and thank our residents and our businesses who are working very hard to follow the safety regulations and keep our community from backsliding. We have done, or we have to do everything that we can to move forward safely. We cannot afford, and let me repeat this, we cannot afford to return to a stay-at-home order. Joining me today, you see members of our business and healthcare community who share this vision. My message is very simple. Save a life, save our economy, and wear a face covering. Save a life, save our economy, wear a face covering. In the last few weeks, I have heard from representatives in all sectors of our community, residents, businesses, healthcare providers, and community leaders. All of them have expressed a concern for the trajectory of the coronavirus pandemic in Baton Rouge. From the cancer survivor who has a child with type 1 diabetes, from the frontline workers, from the husband and wife working on the front line in the medical field, from the grandparents who are yearning to touch their grandchildren once again, from the 76-year-old man who's concerned about his health and he doesn't have underlying conditions, from the 66-year-old grandmother who really wants to reach out and touch her grandchildren. I've heard from a variety of individuals. And so I have gathered all of you here today as we have looked at the data as you have heard the data, to announce our next step and course of action to protect our community. It's in times like this when leadership not often is embraced with popularity, when you have to make the tough decisions. And so today I intend to sign an executive order to mandate face coverings, particularly when residents are inside businesses. As you know, last week when I spoke, I said that if I felt the need, as we looked at the data, as we moved forward, that I would consider all options. And today, the option of wearing a face covering as a mandate is now taking place. This is an effort to protect the health and well-being of residents and visitors, and to assist in the safe reopening of the city-parish economy without the need for stricter economic mitigation efforts that we would have to put in place this year. The face covering policy will help ensure our businesses can remain open. It will help our businesses protect their employees, many of whom I've heard from. And it will protect the customers and make sure that they're safe. This policy is rooted in the common sense measures of our medical community, and they have agreed on it. Masks, and let me make this clear, we all know that masks don't stop the spread of the virus, but masks and face coverings do reduce the risk of spreading it to those around us. And that's very important. This appeal is to protect the welfare of the entire East Baton Rouge Parish. In order for Baton Rouge to stay open and not regress to previous phases, we have to do this. I understand the concerns of the community. Wearing a mask can be unpleasant. I don't think I could name anyone who really enjoys wearing a mask or a face cover. However, when we look at our states, our trivial inconvenience in comparison to what is at risk is minor. We have to look at the loss that we have faced in our community thus far. You've heard me say it time and time again. I describe it as short-term discomfort for long-term gain. These are small sacrifices that will allow us to progress forward without the threat of reverting to where we once were. Do we wish to return to the days of a stay-at-home order? I think the answer to that is no. Do we wish to move forward? Yes. Do we wish to see our schools open, to gather with our loved ones, to enjoy the music of the festivals and the concerts that we have here in Baton Rouge, to return to our sports activities, to go to the movies? Do we want to do that? I think everybody does. So in the future, when we look back at this period of time, we will remember this as a challenging and difficult time in our history. But as your Mayor President, I can't wait for the day when our government and our healthcare leaders can offer everyone a vaccine and thus an end to the coronavirus pandemic. But until then, I need you to please walk this walk of healing and courage with me. This is not easy, but we can do this. Save our economy. Save our businesses who cannot weather closing again. And more importantly, save a life with me today. East Baton Rouge Parish, we must pull together on this. Effective action requires urgency. And in this case, our community cannot wait. I'll take any questions that you might have. Okay, we're going to go down the line. Beth?
How do you plan on enforcing this mandate?
Okay. So as you will see in the executive order, which will come out today, a violation of the executive order will result in a summons. We are certainly shoring up our Baton Rouge Police Department as well as our other public safety officials to do this. And of course, it will be a misdemeanor.
Can we speak on bars? You know, are you expecting bars to patrons to wear a mask, and if not, why not just close them?
Okay, so closing bars is not off the table. Okay, so I'll say that right now. It's not off the table. It will be considered if we don't see people adhering to the mandatory mask covering. Yes.
Okay, so in terms of like walking outside, are people supposed to be wearing masks then, or is it just for inside businesses?
So the basic issue around masks is when you are certainly in closed settings, when it does not allow for you to practice social distancing. So we're talking more about enclosed and inside businesses and other gatherings. Yes, ma'am.
How long will the mandate last?
The mandate will last until I see some changes in our numbers with the data. And then I will consider reverting the mandate. Yes.
What do you say to people who may not have access to a mask? Or I know in the past, in the last couple of months, when all of this really started, there were a lot of mask giveaways. Any plans to do that again to make sure that people do have a mask?
Yes, we will continue with mask giveaways, but what I need people to understand, and I think sometimes we get hung up on the word mask, and of course now they have all kind of masks out there, but it's a face covering. You can use a bandana, you can use a scarf, you can use any type of material and just cover your face with it. So people don't have to feel like, oh, I don't have a mask, it's going to be an obstruction or an encumbrance for me. No, a face covering, a face covering. Any other questions? Yes.
Mayor, I know I spoke to you, or I got a statement from you last week saying that enforcing something like this would be a financial burden on the public that's already facing a lot of
Correct.
troubles. How are you dealing with that?
How am I balancing that? Many of the people that I have been concerned about have said to me directly, we're more concerned about our health. We support a mask mandate, and of course a judge will be the deciding factor in terms of what type of fine would be involved. And I will tell you, it is my hope and it is my optimism that people will take wearing a face covering to a whole nother positive level now as a result of this mandate, and recognize it. As I said, in reporters, you can go out there. There are people all over our community. You all are reporting them in some of your news stories on TV. People who are who have died over the COVID-19. The mother who gave birth last week to a baby. And as I said, I get, the pastor who lost his wife, who he couldn't see because he couldn't come to the hospital to see her. So it's happening. You know it. You're reporting it. Now, the other side of that coin, and I want to present a balanced perspective. We do have people who survive. That's good news. But until we have a vaccine to address this, we are challenging the health and well-being of our citizens. And so we have got to do everything possible to mitigate this. And as you heard me say in my statement, while masks are not the all in all in the mitigation process, they are certainly a part of it as directed by medical professionals all over. That's why everybody in here has on one.
Ma'am, what do you say to those people? Because there are still people out there who don't believe in it. They just feel like something like this is infringing on their rights. What do you say to those people who may not really grasp the severity of this?
You know, I have been as passionate and demonstrative on this issue time and time again. There are going to always be people who don't believe in the severity of what's going on at this moment. And sometimes it's unfortunate until they're hit with it, until they know somebody, until they personally experience it, then they're going to continue to be naysayers about it. I'm trying to save as many people as possible that want to go down this path of staying safe, this path of making sure that we don't regress back. I am working continuously on this message to make sure that we save lives. And so I want to save our economy. I want to save lives. And for those people who want to join me, wear masks. If you're concerned about saving our city and our economy and not returning back, if you're concerned about your neighbor, your friend, your loved one, if you want to save a life, then start by wearing a mask, wearing a face cover.
Any other questions? We're at 2:30.
One more question. And I know you talked about the number of cases, the increase.
I did. I gave you some data
that we're seeing here in East Baton Rouge Parish. With that, did that also play a role in this decision in addition to the hotline that was started last week?
Absolutely. Let me just tell you this. I am constantly looking at the data. It is being reported to me on a daily basis. And these numbers that we are seeing right now don't only have a statewide concern, but they have a national concern. This morning you might have heard that some states are putting people from Louisiana in quarantine if they come to their state. So it's a reality of what we're dealing with. So yes, my decision was based on data. It was based on data and the concern for the uptick that I see happening and the desire for us not to go back to a stay-at-home order. And I will tell you, local governments across America are having to make these decisions because they're concerned about the lives of their citizens. They're concerned about making sure that their city stays alive, not only physically, but economically as well. Because when people can't go to work, when people are laid off, when people are furloughed, it impacts families, their quality of life, their ability to move forward in their lives. And so all of this has to be considered. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I firmly believe there are more people out there who want to save a life, who want to save our economy, who will wear a mask, who will wear a face cover. Last question.
Yes, ma'am. So how will this be addressed in restaurants inside?
Okay, so in restaurants, of course, when people eat, they have to take off their masks. We understand that. But of course, there are some concerns about folks, the employees of restaurants, making sure that they're adhering to those policies. And I will tell you that there are more restaurants who are adhering than those who are not adhering. And I want to thank those restaurants who are adhering. In fact, I've been to several, and I've been very intentional about watching if they have on a face covering, if they have on gloves, if they're sanitizing, and of course, we hear the good reports and we hear the bad reports, but I'm hearing more good reports about restaurants.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
See y'all at 2:30.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot we all. I'm sorry.